Just want to take a moment and talk about my last episode. And, I try my best with these videos, and I try to help people, and, I got a family to feed, and trying to sell some teaching companions available on teachingorchestra.com. But in the last episode, I threw one of my students under the bus, and I got to apologize for that. Sorry, little Johnny. Sorry to the community. Sorry to everybody for sharing highly sensitive and highly classified information about one of my students. As a result, we're taking action so that I don't repeat that mistake. I'm going to be doing a 27-minute e-course on eHero about FERPA and how to protect students' rights. And now, when people ask me if I'm up to code on the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act of 1974, I can honestly tell them that I am closer than I have ever been before. What types of formative assessments are there? What tools do you have in your toolbox? Well, there's clarifying, there's eliciting evidence, there's providing feedback, and there's activating learners. Wrong. Okay, I'm trying my best not to make this into one of these boring in-service things that you have to sit through, and the whole time you're just mad, you're just steaming, and I do this all day, every day, all day, every day. I'm an orchestra teacher. Yes, you're an orchestra teacher. You do this all day, every day, and I'm not trying to waste your time here with this. I'm just trying to share with you some of the stuff that I do in the classroom that helps to get students out of their shells and helps to make the assessments more visible to each other, more visible to your evaluators, so that we kind of play the game a little bit. If you don't want to play the game, that's fine. It's your choice, but sometimes you're going to need to go to your administration and say, hey, I need some money. Hey, I want to do this. Hey, I want to do that. And they can think to the time where they were in your classroom and the students were engaged and they were seeing things that look like what's going on in, your desks and chalkboard classroom type of stuff. And they can say, hey, I see what's going on here. So, it really doesn't take that much rehearsal time to do this stuff. It takes maybe a minute, and you can do just a little bit of it every day, and it really helps. Okay, my first bit of advice is, if you're going to do some of these practices, start simple, okay? When you start asking for students and trying to get feedback from them, trying to get them to respond, ask very basic information like, hey, what's your favorite movie? Hey, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite flavor of Skittles? Maybe even go even simpler. Hey, what's your name? And that just gets them to start responding and answering questions. You can make it funny too. You can just come up with some scenarios and just walk up to them and just walk around the classroom and say, hey, you're in the woods and you get attacked by a bear. What do you do? And point to them, and whatever they say, you just be like, wrong. Next person. Wrong. Next person. And they always say like, oh, play dead. No, that's not what you do. That's what the bears want you to think. It's a bear conspiracy or whatever. You're swimming in the ocean and you get attacked by a shark. What do? You punch him in the nose, like that kind of stuff, just to be playful and understand that it's not to be taken quite so seriously, have them get out of their shells, not be so serious, and be comfortable sharing. One of the basic ways to do this is just what I call a partner share. So you got your stand partner, bases can pair up. If you've got a single desk, you move people around so that they've got some kind of a partner, and you might have to have a group of 3, but don't leave anybody out and don't have somebody partner with you. That's not cool, all right? You don't want the orchestra teacher as your partner. So you want a group of 3 for students. So partner everybody up, ask them a general question, like, hey, what'd you do over spring break? And then, or, what'd you do over vacation? What'd you do over the weekend? And just have them share with each other, give them 60 seconds, and then it's done. All right, on to the next thing. Now we're going to do orchestra stuff, all right? And eventually that's going to transform into peer-to-peer coaching, where they get more comfortable and, they start talking about musical things. But again, just start simple. Another thing that you can do is a partner share. You have the students discuss for a few seconds about, their favorite color or something like that. And then you say, all right, who wants to share what their partner's favorite color is, okay? And you point to them and they say, oh, green. Okay, great, cool. Next, yellow. Okay, sweet. And then, you get through the class that way. You don't listen to everybody in the class, obviously. Just take a few of them and then move on, okay? And then we can start moving towards a group share, okay? And you could say like, hey, whose favorite color was orange? And then, you see the hands or whatever. Hey, whose favorite color was blue? All right, cool. And then, obviously, again, this is going to evolve into musical things. You could say, all right, so who thought that C sharp was out of tune? They raise their hands, okay? But at the beginning, you just need to get them comfortable sharing, okay? The problem that typically occurs with these sharing things is you have some students in your class that want to share a lot more and some students in your class that don't want to share at all. And you kind of have to create some equity here, and you kind of have to balance it out and make it even, give all students an equal opportunity to share and get out of their shells, okay? Otherwise, the introverts become more introverted and the extroverts become more extroverted, and you have this imbalance in your class. So one of the things I like to do is use kind of an object or something like that, like a really soft Nerf ball or something that's not gonna break the instruments, and you can just toss it to somebody and ask them a question like, hey, what's your name? Toss it to them, they catch it, they have to answer and toss it back. That way you can kind of sort of randomize what's going on. You can draw a name out of a hat and kind of randomize it that way. There's some software out there that does randomization for you. You can just load your roster into the software and it just pops up with a student's name, and you can have them do that. That way you get some equity in the whole sharing game. I'm a big fan of the raise your hand thing, like, who thinks that was in tune? Raise your hand. Who thinks that was out of tune? Raise your hand. Okay, I saw some people whose hands didn't go up, Are you waiting for me to tell you the answer, or are you going to contribute? And then you might want to single those people out. Oh, you didn't raise your hand. What's the deal? And then another thing that you can do is you can do the 5-finger test, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Or you can flip it around if you want to do more of the UIL system, where it's like 1's the best and 5's the worst. Was it superior or was it poor? Like, how are you going to evaluate it? And, oh, your hand's not going up. What do you think? And then I also like to do the tell on your stand partner thing. Now, if you're going to do tell on your stand partner, make it a positive thing, okay? Don't make it a negative thing. You want to have good relationships in the orchestra. Don't say like, who missed that note? Tell on your stand partner. That's usually not the way you want to do it. You want to say, hey, who's playing really well in tune right now? Tell on your stand partner. Oh, who's doing this technique correctly or that thing correctly? Tell on your stand partner. And they can be like, oh yeah, my stand partner's doing great, and that's good. And they can tell on each other and have fun that way too. So I get a lot of these ideas from our theater department. We have an outstanding theater department at the school, and sometimes during my conference period, I'll just wander over to their classes and I'll see what they're doing. They do a remarkable job to get students out of their shells and get them sharing, and I steal all kinds of ideas. So, thank you to our theater department here, and I'm stealing everything you got. So when I come into your classroom, watch out, because it's all going on the YouTubes. Okay, so formal graded assessments, that's probably what most people think when they saw the title of this episode. Assessments, how are we going to take grades? How are we going to formalize this? And so the last bit of this video, that's what I'm going to talk about, are different ways that we can do that. So the first thing is obviously your in-class chair test or in-class playing test, where you just go down the row and you listen to everybody play. There are some advantages to this. Students get exposure to playing under pressure. They have to play for their peers. They're really put on the spot. They can't not submit it. I guess they can refuse to play, and I've had that a few times in my career, but typically everybody ends up playing anyway. If you just sit there and wait long enough, eventually they probably will. At the beginning of the year, the students that refuse to play usually end up playing at the end of the year. So that certainly beats students that never submit their electronic assessments or something like that. So there are advantages to that. Disadvantages are going to be it uses up class time. You're probably not going to hear your students at their very best. You're going to hear them under pressure. And so in something where they can record or re-record, you might be able to get a different perspective on what their potential is, what they could do if given enough work and time. So there's some downsides to that too. So I used to do it, before I knew about the internet.com. Now that I know about the internet.com, I do all graded assessments electronically, but I used to, every Monday, I would do a chair test and wasted a lot of time. So now I can use Mondays for rehearsal, and I can have the students go to internet.com and submit their assessments electronically. Another thing that you can do, and at the middle school level, what we do is we want to make sure that students are turning in their assessments, and if we have students that are just not submitting them electronically, well, we say, hey, little Johnny, oh no, not this again. Hey, student, that name is highly confidential. You haven't turned in your playing tests, so get into this practice room, and there's an iPad set up, and you're going to record yourself. Ready, go. Or you could just have like a tape recorder in there or a digital recorder in there and just record them. You can send all of your students into them one by one and just have them recorded that way. That's kind of the hybrid system in between the plan for the entire class and not wasting so much class time, but still having that one take pressure where it's like you get one shot to do this. So that might be a good strategy for a lot of people too. But you have to have the equipment, and you got to have the students who don't go in there and turn off your recorder or mess up your iPad or something like that. There's a lot of room for error there. So be careful. If you have another staff person or somebody, you might have them in the room just to kind of monitor the equipment. Well, that's my take on assessments, and I hope that you liked some of this content. I really hope that this wasn't just another boring in-service thing for you. If so, please hit that thumbs down button. In fact, if you hated it, I really want you to hit that thumbs down button twice because I deserve it. So hit it twice, all right? If you have something that you'd like to contribute, always feel welcome to drop a comment in the comment section below. And at some point, I would really like to get some other people here to share their opinions so that it's just not all coming from me, because there's a lot of different ways to do things, and I would like to learn from them too. So at some point, and I'm hoping maybe for season 5 that I can go around and do some interviews with some orchestra teachers that are within driving distance of me and just kind of film what they do in class and talk to them about their philosophy. And that way we can all learn from the master level teachers here in the state of Texas. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you in the next one.